Sean Hannity believed he could trap Congresswoman Jasmine Crockett with a bold taunt, but he never foresaw a poised, truth-heavy reply that left him silent, and the crowd bursting with cheers. Her team promised it'd be a balanced talk. That's what her top aide stated when he arranged it. Just a discussion on human rights. He wants a bold voice, they claimed. He'll stay courteous. But as Jasmine Crockett entered the Burbank studio that Thursday morning, something seemed wrong, not loud, not striking, but wrong. The type of thing you sense only after navigating rooms like these. The way the young lady on the styling crew stared at her without speaking. The brief looks from the production team. The strange quiet after Jasmine nodded to the associate producer. It was a space primed for a moment. Sean Hannity was already seated when she reached the set. He didn't rise to welcome her, just nodded and skimmed his papers. She sat, fixed her mic, and smiled gently. "Morning," he said, glancing up with a grin, but it didn't quite touch his eyes. "Good morning, Congresswoman Crockett. Let's have a lively debate, shall we? Live in 30 seconds. Jasmine shifted slightly in her chair, her back naturally straight. She was no novice to being overlooked. Born to a school kitchen worker and a delivery driver in Shreveport, she'd honed her skills as a Dallas lawyer before entering politics. She fought too fiercely to shrink now. The stage lights flared. The producer signaled, "We're live." In 3-2, the theme music faded. "Welcome back to Hannity." His voice boomed, sharp and assured. "Today, we're joined by Texas Congresswoman Jasmine Crockett, a new name in the Democratic Party with, let's say, loud views on race, justice, and youth policing." She smiled calmly. "Thanks for having me." He dove in. "Congresswoman, you've been very vocal about what you call systemic racism in America. Many argue this nation chose a black president twice and now has a black female vice president. Doesn't that show we've made huge strides?" The snare was clear. Showcase equality's facade, then dare anyone to dispute it. But Jasmine didn't flinch. "Strides don't fix what's still broken, Mr. Hannity. They just mean we've come far enough to keep fighting. Yet you often use such vivid words," he said with a faint sneer. "You once likened some police rules to state-backed cruelty. Isn't that a bit, feeling-driven?" The jab lingered in the air. She let it hang briefly, like a mentor letting a weak question settle, then replied softly, "I'm feeling driven when I see moms losing sons who didn't reach 20. Yes, I feel deeply. That doesn't make me rash. It makes me human. But I don't bring feelings here. I bring evidence." But Hannity wasn't seeking fairness. He was hunting for a soundbite to spin ladder in a teaser. He leaned forward. "Does that evidence ever include personal responsibility?" Jasmine's eyes narrowed slightly. "Of course, but let's not act like the system judges all responsibility equally. We both know it doesn't." The control room tensed. The stage director flicked eyes between the script and the crew. The talk had just begun, and it was already off course. She didn't shout, didn't gesture wildly, just sat, giving him nothing to seize, nothing he could warp into a viral outburst. But she was just warming up. The next line Hannity lodged isn't just a jab, it's a harsh blow masked as a query. Hannity adjusted his jacket, pretending to shuffle papers. But Jasmine sensed this next question wasn't impromptu. It was planned, precise, meant to sting. He glanced at the camera, then her. "Congresswoman, let's be frank. Isn't it tiring to always cast America as the villain? There's a gap between fair critique and, well, grievance." The word landed heavy. Grievance. It wasn't just a swipe at her policies. It was a hit at her character, her right to feel outrage at unfairness, a subtle jab cloaked as insight. Jasmine leaned back slightly, unshaken, steady. If naming injustice is grievance, maybe you're too cozy watching from the sidelines. That halted him. His jaw twitched faintly. He hadn't expected her to strike there. "Let's be real," she continued, voice smooth, firm. "You can't honor MLK every January, then in June brand folks as whining for noting the same barriers fought." A quiet murmur rose from the crowd, not loud but distinct. Hannity forced a grin. You're clearly intense. I respect that. But don't you fear this race-focused view just divides folks more? Wouldn't we be better off moving beyond it? Jasmine shook her head gently. That's like telling someone to ignore rain while drenched in a storm. He chuckled thinly. Clever, but let's get serious. You once slammed police after a major shooting. The officer was cleared later, yet you never backed down. Doesn't that prove you jumped too fast? Her face stayed calm, but inside, her stomach tightened not from fear, but frustration. There. It was the trap. He wanted to paint her as reckless, race-obsessed over facts. He craved that headline. Crockett ignores proof. She paused, just enough to show she was unrattled. Tell me, Mr. Hannity, she said softly, do you think a system clearing officers 99% of the time is always just? Or could the system itself need review? He opened his mouth, but she pressed on. Because if clearance rates equal justice, then maybe revisit Mississippi last year. 2 unarmed teens shot in a stand-to-stop body cam off, officers cleared in days. That wasn't fairness, that was a shield, and the families still seek answers. There it was, real cases, dates, details, nothing he could dismiss with a sneer. Hannity looked briefly unsteady, flipping a blank page, stalling. Jasmine leaned in slightly. You want evidence? Let's dive in because I come ready not with slogans, not guesses ready. The studio air grew dense. Even the stylist off-stage froze, brush in hand, eyes locked on the screen. But Hannity pushed on. I just think it's risky. He said slowly, to keep telling young black Americans they're victims. Doesn't that limit them more than the system? That's when Jasmine's smile faded. She set her hands gently on the desk and spoke without a trace of anger. What's risky is telling young black Americans to silence their pain. What's risky is acting like strength means quiet. We've been strong, we've been tough, and we've been ignored until we shouted. The crowd stirred. Someone whispered, yes. Another clapped once, then stopped, unsure if they should. Sure, she said, tilting her head faintly. We could tell them to move on. Act like it's all fine, like history's gone. That'd be easier, wouldn't it? Hannity blinked, silent, and Jasmine knew she was steering the talk now. Hannity tilted his head, took a deep breath, and grinned like he was tossing her a favor, the kind of grin that says, asterisk, I'm about to. Offend, but I'll wrap it in politeness so you can't call it out asterisk. Congresswoman. He began tone slow, condescending. You claim you're bringing evidence. But let's be honest, your tone, your posture, even your post-it all screams passion. You seem furious, not reason, and viewers, well, they notice. There it was, furious. Not firm, not clear, not bold, furious. The old tactic, label women, especially black women, as irrational when they speak with conviction. Jasmine knew it, had faced it, had seen others face it. She didn't reply right away. She didn't need to. The room felt the weight of his words. A crew member winced. A camera operator shifted uneasily. She let the pause stretch, just enough to make him squirm, then asked calmly, do you ask Senator Burr the same when he yells on your show and slams the desk? Do you pause to critique his posture? Hannity blinked, unsure how to pivot. Or is passion only an issue when it's from someone like me? Still, she didn't shout, didn't get heated. She was dismantling him. I seem furious to yell because I won't back down. I don't share your voice, don't seek permission to feel, but I swear, nothing I've said today comes from passion. It's from life, and that's far stronger than any web page you skimmed this morning. Some crowd members laughed, not cruelly, but with that sharp she got him vibe. Hannity chuckled too, but his eyes tightened. Oh, I see. So now it's about my background? No, Jasmine said. You made it about mine. I'm just saying I don't need your nod to speak or challenge you. You invited me to talk. Don't be shocked when I do. His grin cracked. She pressed on. I've spent years in courtrooms, Hannity. You know what doesn't hold up there. Tone, looks, posts. You know what does. Proof. So let's stick to that. He tried to reply, but she cut him before he could steady himself. Since you mentioned posts, let's talk yours. In 2017, you tweeted that police deserve our thanks. Not critique. That's your call. But what were you chasing in 2021 when you defended officers on air after a disputed shooting ignoring body cam evidence? The crowd gasped not stage, but real shock. No one expected her to go there, but she did, and she wasn't done. Call it loyalty or a bold stance either way. It wasn't reason. It was heated. Yet you still sit here acting like you're the voice of truth. Hannity sat still, face steady, but his posture betrayed him. For the first time, he seemed smaller in his chair. You asked if I'm grieving, she continued, voice low, precise. I'm not, but I'm worn from proving I belong at every table, from explaining hurt, from being judged by rules that shift with who's watching. She paused. The silence was heavier now. No one stirred. The crowd held back, not clapping, yet still absorbing. Hannity grabbed his pen, tapped it on the desk, a nervous tick. Well, he said, voice stiffer now, you've clearly prepped some jabs. She didn't smile. No, I prepped truth. If that feels like a jab, maybe it says more about you than me. Hannity was gripping his pen a bit too hard now. The camera missed it, but Jasmine caught it, the subtle sign of a man used toe steering the story, now feeling the ground slip. He tried to reset. Congresswoman, I think we're drifting. This isn't about me. You're here for your views, not mine. Jasmine raised an eyebrow, just enough to say, asterisk, oh, we're playing now? She leaned in, voice even, sharp. You said my take split, folks, that I'm too passionate, that I push a victim mindset. You made it personal when you called my humanity a flaw. Now you want to dodge because I hit back with facts you didn't. See coming? He blinked. She didn't wait. You want to talk splits? Let's backtrack. She faced the camera now. Last year, you called Minneapolis protesters a gang of wild riders. But 6 months later, when truckers blocked Idaho roads over vaccine rules, you dubbed them brave citizens standing firm. Same act, different hue, different spin. A soft murmur from the back. A woman in the third row covered her mouth. Hannity shifted. Those were separate cases. Were they? Jasmine cut in softly. Both groups fought what they saw as unfair rules. One faced tear gas. The other got kind press. One was called trouble, the other bold. Tell me, Mr. Hannity, what's the thread in how you judge? He started to speak, stopped, off guard. She continued. You've built a career sparking outrage, but when your words are thrown back, suddenly it's a call for calm and order. That's handy. His face stiffened, a flicker of annoyance in his gaze, and Jasmine kept going. When George Floyd died, she said quietly, you posted America must do better, and I agreed. I did, but 3 weeks later, you bashed black athletes kneeling at games, saying politics don't fit sports. A soft chuckle came from behind the camera. Jasmine didn't flinch. You want the symbol, not the fight, the grief, not the noise. You want black pain quiet, not loud. That line hit hard. The studio seemed to still. Hannity looked at her now with something new, not anger, not sneer, but unease, maybe regret. She didn't milk it. She let it sit, then added, look, I don't need to be liked, that's not my goal. But I will be heard, even if I must drag truth into rooms not meant for it. A soft clap started one, then two, then more not wild, not stage, just real. Folks feeling something rare, clarity. Hannity tried to grin, but it lacked weight. Well, you sure brought your script. She met his gaze, calm, firm. No, I brought my life. You call it a script because you didn't expect someone like me to be this sharp. The control room was hushed, no chatter, no cues. The producer stood, hand half up, unsure whether to break or let it roll. But Jasmine pushed further, tying her points not just to Hannity, but to viewers at home. She'd already flipped the talk's balance, but she wasn't done. She knew this stage reached beyond the studio. It wasn't just about schooling Hannity. It was about speaking to every viewer who'd been brushed off, talked over, or boxed out by someone with a mic and a bold sneer. She turned slightly to the camera. Let's talk evidence, since that's the yardstick here, real stuff. Hannity leaned back, exhaling, trying to seem relaxed, but his knee twitched under the desk. I brought 3 cases, she continued. Not from news, not from posts, straight from court files, statements, and public video. The studio air thickened again. Jasmine wasn't winging it. This was honed, deliberate, the clarity born not from rage, but from study, from listening, from knowing the names of those who suffer quietly. Case 1, Pasadena, California, 2021, Erin Lowe, 27. Stopped driving home from work for a broken taillight. Dash cam shows hands up the whole time. Shot twice. Cop claimed he thought Erin reached. Review cleared him. But here's the catch. Body cam video vanished for 6 months, then reappeared edited. She let that sit, not rushing, not hyping, just truth. Case 2, Cleveland, Ohio, last summer. Rhonda Belton called 911, her exhaust breaking in. Cops arrived, arrested her for disorderly conduct. Why? She was loud. 3 days in jail, lost her job. Charges dropped, no sorry, no news. Hannity blinked, finally speaking. Congresswoman, I don't deny these are big issues. She cut him off, still calm. You do deny them when you ask if I'm too passionate. When you tag my tone as furious, you're telling folks like Rhonda and Erin, their stories don't count unless they're wrapped in calm. He fell silent. Jasmine shifted. One more. She pulled a folded paper from her jacket, not for show, just proof. Case 3, your own words, March 2022 on this show. You said, I don't think systemic racism exists in today's policing. That was 3 days after a DOJ report showed excessive force on black drivers in 8 big U.S. cities, including Los Angeles. Hannity cleared his throat. The context was. She raised a hand gently. I know the context. I read the transcript. You said the report wasn't solid, but it had data, video, sworn accounts. What you meant was it didn't. Suit your tale. The crowd was locked in, now phones out, heads nodding slowly. Not all agreed, but they felt her weight. Jasmine turned to him, eyes steady. I'm not here for cheers or clicks. I'm here because my constituents bury kids while TV hosts argue. How furious we can seem. A murmur rippled through. Some leaned forward. Evidence isn't a weapon, she said, but ignoring it is. Brushing it off starts to harm. Hannity was stuck. His fire had faded. This wasn't a debate, it was a lesson. She softened slightly. You can dislike my style, my tone, my views, but you can't act like I didn't bring receipts or seam. Shocked when I hold you to yours. For a moment, the studio stilled, no quip. No dodge, just a rare quiet when truth cuts clean. It didn't take long for the vibe to shift entirely. Behind the cameras, a producer tapped his earpiece, whispering, We need a break now. But the director, glued to the monitor, waved him off. This wasn't chaos. It was TV history, and they knew it. In the control room, chatter went from routine to stun hush. No one saw this coming, not the network's top brass, who dropped in for a quick check, but now sat frozen, eyes on every word from Jasmine. Crockett's mouth. The cameraman to her left tweaked the focus slowly, not out of need, but because his hand shook slightly. 16 years filming, he'd seen meltdowns, bluffs, panic, but never this. Someone dismantling a reputation live without yelling, cursing, or showboating. In the crowd, a guy in a blue cap whispered, She's roasting him. Loud enough for the row ahead to murmur, but Sean Hannity wasn't murmuring. His eyes flicked to his producer Offset, who was wildly signaling stretch or save, depending. On the read. Jasmine, unfazed, adjusted her mic clip. She wasn't acting. She was solid, steady. Not a hair out of place, no sweat, No nervous blink. Hannity tried to claw back. "Congresswoman," he began, tone suddenly stiff. "I think there's a gap between single case and big claims. Wouldn't you agree?" Her lips curled faintly. "Of course, which is why I brought federal data. Video proof and court stats. If you call those single, maybe your bar for facts is off." Even the tech on camera, too, snorted. Jasmine wasn't cocky. She didn't savor his unease. She didn't need to. What hit was her calm strength dot. Then came the surprise. A studio assistant, barely 23, fresh from Cal State, forgot himself and clapped two soft pops echoing through the rafters. Hannity heard it, and his cool began to crack. "Is this a talk show or a protest now?" he snapped, glancing off stage. Jasmine didn't look away. "It's a moment of truth should be more common, don't you think?" More claps followed, not planned, just natural. Folks weren't cheering a performance. Were reacting to someone saying what they'd screamed at their TVs for years. Jasmine sat taller, voice calm. "I'm not here to shame you, Mr. Hannity. That's not my aim. But I'll say this. When you make a career questioning others' truth, you better be ready to back your own." Hannity didn't reply right. Away he looked down, not at papers, but at nothing, like Simian scrambling for ground after the rug's gone. The director signaled sharply, "Break now." A producer's voice buzzed in the stage manager's ear. "Cut it before it tanks." The screen behind them faded. The segment was done, but the air stayed heavy, like after a storm. As lights dimmed, for commercial, Jasmine stayed seated, calm, focused. Hannity adjusted his mic, looked off camera, his face a mix of irritation and unease. But the crowd wasn't watching him. All eyes were on Jasmine, not because she shouted, not because she fought, but because she showed truth, spoken plain and unapologetic, outshines any act. The cameras cut, but the impact didn't. Backstage, producers scrambled. One was on the phone with PR. Another had X open on her tablet, stunned at how fast clips spread. 3 minutes off air, and Jasmine's last lines were screen recorded, captioned, and reposted by someone in the booth. Hannity, still seated, had his team approach cautiously. He waved them off. He hadn't expected to be schooled, not live. Not like that. This wasn't a shouting match, no viral yelling, no slung insults. He'd been outplayed with calm and clarity. Meanwhile, Jasmine sat alone in the green room for a moment, taking a deep breath, the heavy kind after holding steady under fire. Her assistant, Trina, rushed in, phone buzzing. "You're trending," she said. "Top 5 in the U.S. Hashtag Jasmine. Owned it. Double quotes. She showed the screen." Jasmine gave a small laugh. "That'll bug him." Trina grinned. "Oh, he's fuming. Word is he's asking why they didn't cut sooner." But Jasmine wasn't gloating. That wasn't her vibe. This wasn't about winning. It was about the millions who watched it and finally felt seen, heard, valued. "I just didn't want him rewriting the tale again," she said softly, "not while folks out there paid a price." Trina nodded. "You didn't just hold ground, you changed something." As they talked, clips hit every platform. One showed Jasmine's cool reply to being called passionate. Another went viral with a split screen of her calling out. Hannity's flip-flopping on protesters, black versus white. Commentators weighed in. A conservative host called her a pro at staying cool. A progressive podcaster said it was the sharpest takedown of media spin in years. Even non-political folks watch. At a bar in Phoenix, students had the clip on mute with subtitles on every screen. In a Fresno flat, a high schooler showed her mom. "She talks like you." That was the shift, not the claps, not the trends, but the feeling it gave people. Seeing someone speak truth without bending, without softening to be heard. Back at the studio, an audio tech approached Jasmine quietly, glancing around. "I just wanted to say thanks," he said. She turned. "For what?" "For not making us feel nuts," he said, half smiling. "We've seen folks dodging this stage forever, but today felt new." Jasmine didn't know what to say, so she nodded, grateful. Thanks for that. He left, and for a moment, she sat in silence. Trina returned, smirking. They want you back next month. Jasmine raised an eyebrow. Same show? Yep, same host. She tilted her head. I'll mull it over. Outside, a small crowd had gathered. Word spread fast. Too fast for security. Some were press, but most were regular folks. Teachers, activists, students, moms with kids, just standing, hoping to see her. Jasmine stepped out, no celebrity wave, no. Camera pause. She walked slowly, gave a soft smile, nodded once, acknowledging them, not performing. This wasn't about fame, it never was. She came for a talk and left a reminder, echoed across living rooms, group chats, classrooms, and buses. You can't hush truth just because at UNSETTLE's by evening. The clip hit over 12 million views, no music. No edits, just raw footage of Jasmine facing Sean Hannity, speaking plainly, no raised voice. News anchors debated it. Talk radio picked it apart. Comment sections blew up. But something else was happening in quieter spaces. High schoolers in Jackson, Mississippi, paused debate club to watch the full segment. Their teacher, Mr. Holloway, usually strict about phones, streamed it on the projector. Watch her stance. That's how you handle heat. A Fort Wayne grandma texted the link to her church group. This woman speaks for us. Even those who didn't fully align with Jasmine admitted one thing. She had grace and precision. She didn't just reply, she led. By 8 p.m., hashtags like hashtag Jasmine owned it, hashtag say it plain, and hashtag Coma's power dominated timelines. But Jasmine stayed silent. No posts, no reposts, nothing. She didn't need to. The moment spoke. Meanwhile, Hannity went quiet, no follow-up, no fiery blog. His team released a bland statement via Fox PR about valuing debating diverse views. But it flopped. People saw what happened. No spin. Could fix it. In her Glendale hotel room that night, Jasmine sat cross-legged on the bed, laptop shut, phone buzzing nonstop. She let it buzz. She didn't want the noise. That wasn't the goal. Trina sat across, scrolling texts. Your aunt in Baton Rouge said she turned her hearing aid down, said she's never heard you this clear. Jasmine chuckled softly. She always says that. Trina looked up. But she's right. You were clear, and you didn't flinch. That's what hit folks. It's never about loudness, Jasmine said, half to herself. It's about staying firm. Then a knock soft, unexpected. She opened the door to a young black woman, mid-20s, hotel staff, name tag on her jacket, looking nervous. Hi, she said. I'm sorry. I know I shouldn't bug you. I saw what you did today and just had to say thank you. Jasmine soft. You're not bugging me. The woman smiled faintly. It's just, I'm often the only black woman in meetings here, and I've been told I'm too much, hard to work with. Seeing you today, I feel less alone. Jasmine stepped out. What's your name, Kaylee? Kaylee, she said. Don't let anyone make you shrink to ease them, you hear? Kaylee nodded, eyes misty. Being direct isn't rude, Jasmine said. Being ready isn't pushy, and asking for fairness isn't too much. Kaylee smiled. I needed that. I think many did. They stood a moment, no flash, no press, just two women sharing something deep. When Kaylee left, Jasmine lingered in the doorway, then closed it slowly. That night, a Baltimore student tweeted, Jasmine didn't argue, didn't act. She stood firm and spoke like my mom would, with facts, heart, and grace. That's the standard now. It hit 300,000 likes in hours because that's what it was not. A trend, not a feud, but a mirror, showing who we hear, who we quiet, and what power is when it doesn't yell to be noticed. The next morning, Jasmine Crockett was up before dawn at a small desk by her hotel window, a mug of cold coffee beside her, watching the sky turn from black to gray over the San Fernando Valley. Her inbox was chaos. 4 missed calls from her comms director, 2 from morning shows wanting interviews, dozens of texts from old friends. But she wasn't hurrying. Her team urged her ride the wave go viral, drop a statement, hit every mic, but Jasmine didn't want to be a flash. Flashes fade. She wanted impact. By 8 a.m., she was in a simple black blazer, hair back, on a Zoom with her Texas district. Team, morning, she said, waving lightly. Her chief of staff, Russell, grinned. You broke the internet, and here you error-checking housing updates like it's Tuesday. It is Tuesday, Jasmine said, and tweets don't lower rent. That's who she always was. In Burbank, Fox's internal chats buzzed producers and hosts couldn't stop dissecting how the segment went rogue, how the crowd hung on every word, how even the quietest stagehand asked for the raw footage to show their kid, Sean Hannity's. Team was in damage control. He skipped all interview requests, ducked a planned spot in another network that afternoon. Some of his old allies sidestepped it. It's not about wins or losses. One radio host said cautiously, it's tough talk. That's news. But no one bought it. Meanwhile, the clip was everywhere, not just political pages, but teachers, pastors, comics, Gen Z influencers, even sports analysts. An NBA player shared Jasmine's line, being ready isn't pushy, on Instagram. That part. But Jasmine didn't chase likes. She was drafting a letter. Later that day, she walked into a small community center in South Dallas, no cameras. No press, just her, a few staff, and 20 local parents. The flyer, printed weeks before, read, Know Your Rights, legal session with Representative Jasmine Crockett. Every seat was taken. One mom brought a folder of her son's old tickets. A man asked about housing disputes. A teen asked how to meet their school board. She answered each, slow, clear, no ego. No one mentioned Sean Hannity, and she didn't either. Jasmine knew the real win wasn't TV. It was how people felt the next day, facing a world that shrinks. Later that week, she posted a short video on her social media, not slick. No edits, just her in her office. Thanks for all the love, it's overwhelming, she said. But I hope what stuck wasn't just my words, it's why I spoke. I didn't go on that show for clicks. I went for those not invited to those tables. And I'll keep showing up, cameras or not. That video hit harder than the talk. It showed her moment wasn't a fluke. It was years of listening, learning, standing firm when rooms wanted her small. A Bakersfield teacher used it in class. A Tallahassee nonprofit asked to use it for training. A Flagstaff team messaged her office. You helped me face my teacher today when she said racism's gone. I didn't yell, I just said what I knew. That was the aftermath, not silencing a host, but empowering others to speak with confidence. Clarity, no apology. 2 weeks later, Jasmine Crockett stood at a podium in a modest El Paso auditorium. No bright lights, no national cameras, just folding chairs and real folks. Moms with strollers, veterans in caps, teens with notebooks, elders in crisp shirts. A community event, local run, with volunteers passing water and someone's Uncle Manning. A creaky laptop for sound. Jasmine didn't come to speak, she came to hear. For an hour, people shared. Housing denials, a nephew wrongly searched, working 2 jobs and still sinking. None was new. All mattered. Then someone asked the question they'd skirted. How do we keep going when it feels like no one hears us? Jasmine stepped to the mic, looking tired but not worn the fatigue of work, not pretense. She paused, scanned the crowd. They don't hear till you make them. The room stilled. You don't always get a camera, a mic, but that doesn't mean your story's not worth sharing. She said, I got lucky on TV. I didn't win, I just showed we don't owe softness when we speak truth. A soft murmur of agreement spread. 2. Often, they demand we shrink before they'll listen, be softer, kinder, sweeter, but they never ask that of those ignoring our hurt. Isn't that something? She leaned forward, but here's what I learned that day, and I want you all to hold it. You don't need to shout or raise the bar. A woman in the second row dabbed her eyes. A man at the back nodded, arms crossed. Listening hard. We're told to wait our turn, to phrase it nicer, to wait for a moment when they're ready to hear. But if we wait for perfect, we'll age waiting. Jasmine let the words settle. I didn't speak on that show to snap back, she said. I spoke because I was done asking permission to be taken seriously. That was it, the core. Raw dot, not fame, not trends, but the ripple of truth in tough rooms with calm that makes. Folks questioned their unease. Courage, she said, isn't a yell. Sometimes it's the quietest line that shifts everything. The applause was soft, real, the kind that lingers after chairs are stacked and lights go out. After a skinny teen approached her in the hall, nervous, clutching his phone. Do you remember that viral clip? He asked. She smiled. I do. He nodded. I didn't think people like you were real. She met his eyes. People like you are real. I just had a mic that day. That was the lesson. The power wasn't one moment, one comeback, one headline. It was how it spread from a Burbank stage to a Cincinnati home, an Albuquerque cafeteria, a Milwaukee bench. The words weren't hers now. They were for every person who'd felt too loud, too blunt, too much for speaking plain dot as Jasmine left. She didn't carry the applause. She left it for those who needed it more. Her footsteps echoed quiet, firm, grounded, because real change doesn't always roar. Sometimes it's the pause after truth lands. If this story stirred you, think about where your voice counts, cameras or not. And if it matters, hit that subscribe button. We'll keep sharing stories that don't ask permission.